7. Luckily, the rest of Archer's babysitting gig went smoothly. Tyler behaved well for the remainder of their time, and Mr. Timberlake never noticed the hidden jars. He didn't even follow Archer to the door as Archer headed out. On the way home, when Mabel asked him what was up with the honey, Archer lied and said they were a gift from Tyler's dad. Mabel wasn't in a talkative mood, so the rest of the ride home was mostly quiet. Thank goodness, because the lies were beginning to pile up, and now Archer had to add stealing to his list of sins. He told himself it was all for a good cause. After all, he was doing this so he didn't have to lie on his homework. Could a lie told for a good reason cancel out a lie told for a bad one? Archer certainly hoped so. When he got home, Archer headed straight for the kitchen. "Graham," he called. "Graham, are you here?" Archer set the jars on the kitchen counter and went looking for his grandmother in the backyard. He found Dinette tending to her garden. "Hello, sweetheart," she called, as soon as she saw him. She turned off the hose and wrapped Archer in a loving hug. "How is my special boy doing today?" As soon as she folded herself around him, Archer felt 4 years old again. A welcome break from the day's stresses. He burrowed into the soft, fluffy embrace of his grandmother's arms and relished the smell of her perfume. Roses and baby powder. He rested his head and momentarily enjoyed the feeling of pure safety and comfort. But guilt is sneaky and determined. No sooner had Archer relaxed when a tendril of guilt snaked its way into his consciousness. "You lied to her," it hissed. "You lied, and if she finds out, she will never forgive you. You won't be her special boy ever again." Archer released his grasp. He stuffed the guilt deep inside where he wouldn't have to think about it. There was work to do. "Graham, can I ask you a favor?" Archer asked, his posture stiff. "Anything for you, Archer. I was hoping you could teach me to make honey bars." Dinette's face lit up brighter than afternoon sun hitting a placid lake. "I thought you'd never ask," she beamed. "Follow me." And she led Archer into the kitchen. Archer Abel looked conspicuous at school on Friday, carrying a clear Rubbermaid container with a red lid. A few kids assumed he was celebrating and wished him happy birthday in the halls, but it was famously hungry Mabel that lunged, trying to pry the container from Archer's hands the second he sat down for lunch at their regular table. "Hey, what gives?" Mabel pouted when Archer yanked the box away from her grasp. "Are those your grandma's famous honey bars?" Suki asked upon arrival, sitting down across from Archer with her lunch tray. "Yes, they are," Archer answered. "And they're for a class project." "Can't you spare just one?" Mabel cried, folding her lips into a desperate pout. Archer kicked himself for not realizing how much of an issue the honey bars might be at lunchtime. But he'd had no choice. He hadn't been sure how many bars it would take to accomplish his goal, so he'd brought the entire batch just in case. The container had been too large to fit in his backpack. Now it sat on the kitchen table in front of everyone, demanding attention. "I'm sorry," Archer said. "Like I said, it's for a project. I really can't spare any. Maybe next time." Mabel crossed her arms over her chest and scowled at him. What project? Archer scrambled to think of something. "They're for a chemistry unit in physical science." Another lie. "You know, elements, compounds, mixtures." Mabel looked unconvinced. But Fernanda, who had just walked up, flashed a rare grin at Archer as she found a seat. "Are you learning about thermal expansion?" Fernanda asked. "Bars are probably fine, but I prefer to use marshmallows as an observational unit." Fernanda to the rescue. Archer felt his racing heart calm a little. "Yep, that's it," Archer agreed, and he changed the subject. "So, what are we doing this weekend, fam? Anybody want to play Jackbox on Saturday night?" "I'm going with my mom to the Harvest Festival to read cards," Suki answered. "But if we get back early enough, Jackbox sounds fun. Which pack do you have?" The conversation moved on past the honey bars, but Archer could see out of the corner of his eye Mabel's suspicious stare. When the lunch bell rang, the four friends packed up their things, threw away their trash, and joined the crowd exiting the lunchroom. Mabel hung back and grabbed Archer, forcing him to join her. "What are you up to?" Mabel asked, nodding to the box of honey bars. Archer played dumb. "I don't know what you mean." "Be serious," Mabel insisted. "First you said you didn't want to go back and babysit on Spite Lane. Then you changed your mind without explanation. Then you take home a bunch of honey from their place. And now you show up to school with your grandmother's honey bars? This stinks. I don't know what you're up to, but you're acting super strange." "I'm acting strange. What about you?" Archer countered. "What about me?" Kids passed them left and right. Elbows and shoulders jabbed Archer in the back as they went by. Archer felt his temper grow short. "You're not telling me something. Something about Spite Lane," Archer accused. "You're not telling me something," Mabel shot back. Archer knew both of them were far too stubborn to back down, and he didn't have time to fight. Fine. You're right. Something is going on, and I've been meaning to tell you, and I know you're not telling me something too. But we can't talk about it now. The bell is going to ring. We have to get to class." Mabel seemed to relax a little with his confession. "Then let's agree to talk after school?" "Fine." "And we're both going to tell the truth?" "Promise." Archer nodded again. Mabel seemed satisfied enough to walk away, but Archer's gut tied itself into a pretzel. He had no idea how, or even if he could tell Mabel the truth. Not with what he was about to do. Archer's last class of the day was history, but it was also the launching pad of his diabolical plan. Was he really going to tell Mabel about this? He didn't know. He just kept putting one step in front of the other, telling himself he would deal with Mabel and the consequences of his actions later. As Archer walked into the classroom, he saw Parker was already seated. Archer dropped a folded-up piece of paper into Parker's lap as he walked down the row of desks. Parker unfolded and read the note. It said, "Meet me by the gym after school." Parker turned and mouthed, "Okay." Archer felt a little relief. One down, one to go. When the final bell of the day rang, Archer scoured the hallways for Gus and found him right where he had expected, on his way to the gym to dress out for football practice. Archer tapped him on the back, and when Gus turned, asked if he could talk for a minute. Gus looked annoyed, but said, "Fine. What do you want?" Before Archer could make something up, they serendipitously ran into Parker. Hi, guys." Parker greeted them with a nervous look. What a surprise, running into you here." "The real question is, what are you doing here, nerd?" Gus said. bumping into Parker intimidatingly. With Gus and Parker distracted, Archer used the opportunity to take his plan to the next level. He faked a stumble, rolling one foot while dragging the other. As he fell forward, he tossed the plastic container of sweets into the air, and they went flying. Archer caught himself on the ground with a loud woof, and then, "Oh no, my honey bars!" Gus picked up Archer by the scruff of his collar, as though he were a limp puppy, and set him on his feet while Parker fetched the container of bars. Curious, Parker opened the lid. I think your stuff is okay," reported Parker, with a hungry look. "Whatever they are, they smell amazing." Gus didn't even bother to ask. He thrust a hand into the box and grabbed a bar. He sniffed it, shoved it into his mouth unceremoniously, and swallowed it, without chewing. "That was good," Gus said, going for another. Archer saw the look of envy on Parker's face. "Help yourself," he said. "Least I can do since you saved them." "I wouldn't say that," said Parker. But he grabbed a couple of bars anyway and began chowing down. "They're good, but they have a weird taste," said Gus, going for a third. "What is it?" "Honey," Archer said, licking his lips with anxious anticipation. "They're honey bars. My grandma's recipe." Everything was going far better than Archer ever could have imagined. He had been fretting over this moment all day, wondering how he would get Gus and Parker to eat the bars, worried he might have to beg them. But of course, they were teenage boys. They were impulsive, immature, and always starving. Archer should have guessed they would have a difficult time keeping their hands off the bars. He wouldn't have to beg or offer. If he kept standing there, the entire box would probably be empty in minutes. How long should I wait? He wondered, before attempting to see if the honey had taken effect. It turned out Archer didn't have to wait at all. Gus and Parker fell quiet and stood looking at Archer with absent expressions, their jaws revolving like a couple of cattle chewing cud. Archer seized the day. "So, listen, guys, I was thinking," Archer said in a quiet voice, "maybe we could work something out about the history papers." Gus and Parker stared. "Like, maybe you could give me my wallet back?" Archer meekly asked Gus, but Gus didn't respond. At least he didn't punch me, Archer thought. He realized he might need to make it more of a command. "Give me back my wallet," Archer said with more determination. "After all, I don't even know why you took it from me in the first place." Gus let his backpack fall from his shoulder, grabbed it with a hand, unzipped it with the other, and pulled out Archer's wallet. He handed it to Archer without any trouble. "I don't even know why I took it," Gus said. Archer was shocked. He gathered his wits and checked the wallet to see what was left. $10. Better than zero. Thanks, Gus. You're a solid guy." Archer turned to Parker. "And Parker, maybe you could help us out in exchange for more of my grandma's famous bars." Parker didn't respond. "I mean, I want you to write our papers in exchange for more bars, not money." "I'll write your papers for more bars," Parker agreed. Archer's mouth fell open in surprise. It worked. Of course, Archer had no idea how long the effect would last. Based on what he'd observed at the Timberlake house, Tyler needed regular doses of honey fairly often to stay in line. What would happen when the honey wore off of these two? Would they remember what had happened? Would they be mad? You won't change your minds later, Archer insisted. Right. We won't change our minds, Parker and Gus said, in unison. Was it possible? Was Archer home free? He allowed a smile to spread across his lips. If it worked, he wouldn't need to babysit on Spite Lane ever again. But if it didn't work, he would need a steady supply of that magic honey.